We're all works in progress. Join me, Jenn Hart, as I wander creator spaces across the U.S. to meet artists, musicians, makers, and creatives of all kinds, to hear their stories and to find out what inspires them. We'll also play a game of 10 questions. Keep track if you like, and we'll count them up at the end. The nice thing is that the only one that can really lose this game by not getting to 10 is me. And we all get to win by meeting some seriously talented people. I can only see good things coming. Hi, it's Jenn Hart. Welcome to the Artist 10 podcast. For this episode, our team traveled to Las Vegas to talk with Justin Green, improv performer, designer, and owner of Mom's Basement Theater. We recorded the show in his beautiful Black Box Theater where they are performing nightly. It actually reminded me of how much I wanted to be a performer when I was a kid. I would sing into a hockey stick in my bedroom, doing runs like I was Mariah Carey or something with my hand popped out to the side. I wish I would have had a teacher like Justin, though, to guide me then, because my experience on stage was pretty short-lived, and usually it ended in extremely embarrassing incidents. Like one time I was at a dance recital and I straight up split my jeans. Yes, that actually happened to me. It wasn't a movie. I also had an incident, and I'm not going to get into this too far because I just want to avoid a fart joke being the punchline of our first show, but let's just say I narrowly escaped a very exciting and grand entrance to a We the People competition in high school. Needless to say, this naturally shy kid never quite found her comfort zone on stage. But that's okay. I found a love of storytelling, which is something Justin and I actually have in common. We talk about it on this episode. He made me belly laugh a few times with some of the stories he told. Justin's stories got me thinking about home a lot because his theater feels a bit like coming home. And I know that sounds strange because, home means something different to everyone. It's really hard to define, but for me, it's the sound of my mom's voice. It's the taste of my grandmother's chocolate cake with the fluffy white icing that, only she could make just right. It's the smell of barbecue and fresh cut grass in the summer, or the familiar feeling of playing with my cousins in a room where the floor was always lava. And, I know that room so well. I can close my eyes and see every nook and cranny right now. It's different for everyone, but what I'm certain of is that it is a feeling. It's not a place. And that's so special. And that's why it was so surprising and incredible to find that in Mom's Basement, where the stage and the lights became that playroom from my childhood. I could not be more excited, elated, to have on the show as the first guest. He is a driven designer, a painter, an entrepreneur with creative skills spanning multiple disciplines to bring his art to the stage as an improviser and to the boardroom as a diversity trainer. We give him a standing O any day of the week. Justin Green, crowd goes wild. Thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm so stoked to be in the space. It feels so surreal because I remember, you've known each other for years.
Yeah.
So I remember you building this space. And Mom's Basement is perfect. It feels perfect, walking in and seeing you talk about it. So, to kick things off, I was thinking it would be really fun to talk about. And this is something I don't think we've ever talked about, so I think this will be fun for me to learn about. What is your earliest memory of making? That you can remember? And it could be anything, right? It doesn't, maybe it's, I don't know.
Tell us more.
Tell us more.
This is such a great question and such a great, I feel like, start to this podcast. I'm excited to hear other people's answers, but I think the earliest thing I remember like making, I was definitely like a creative kid, and I like definitely like a performer kid, if that makes sense. Not a theater kid, which is very different.
You're like Michael Jackson, right? Yeah. Like snapping at your mom.
I mean, I remember my mom, like my earliest memories is her being like, Justin, this is serious, like stop joking. But like I think the very first time I remember like sitting down to create something of my own volition, not like for a class or something, was probably like, first or second grade. We had, been learning computer skills. And I think I saw this older kid make an animation on PowerPoint. Like, so every slide was a frame.
Yeah.
And I was like, that looks cool. I want to do that. And so like probably from like first grade to like fifth grade, I would like animate on PowerPoint, just like slide by slide. But I would like get with my cousins together. We would make like superhero comics, and like literally
animated.
I mean, animated is a very strong word. It was definitely on PowerPoint with like 1 second gaps in between the transitions.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, like that was definitely like one of my earliest memories of like sitting down and making something.
I didn't even know that you could do that in PowerPoint. So that's really cool. Like I feel like now I might go and like be like, okay.
Like it makes sense. It has the tools. I feel like anyone who actually animates will be like, it's not animation, but like, yeah, if you want to make a ball travel across the screen, like you can do that.
So it's like stop animation.
It's like stop. Exactly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your like first like superhero like that you made, like what they looked like, or their name?
That's so funny. It turned me and my cousins into superheroes, and so like we all had different powers. I only know this.
What was your
Probably
power?
something like controlling like earth or water. We all had different elements. I remember because I remember specifically spelling ice breath wrong. It's like a type of. I spelled ice breathe, so I was definitely like a child. But yeah, we would just turn ourselves into superheroes.
So you were like Super Justin,
Yeah.
with the power to ice breath.
yeah. Originally ice breathe, but ice breath.
Oh my gosh, that is the greatest. I'm gonna make you a T-shirt that
Please.
says Super Justin ice breath.
That it's cute. It's so silly.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, that was like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like that those types of experiences really like do you find, and I guess this is a question, like do you find that's where like that really like spark that like that search for like that artist flow like that we all talk about and love, like do you think that like came from like maybe from that early on, or like I mean I'm sure you don't remember it because like it was so little, but like when as you get older as an adult we call it like an artist flow, but when you're a kid you're just being a kid, but like, it kind of, I mean, is it like that childlike wonder that we're like sort of seeking?
I think this ties into kind of like why I started performing in the first place, but I started performing improv when I was professionally when I was 13. So
wow. So
yeah,
you're so young.
yeah Comedy Sports, which is the show that we do here, and I am the artistic director of it here. It's a worldwide organization, so I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I shout out Buffalo, hometown. But I started going to shows just like a fan, what I mean, when I was 12, and my mom literally dragged me to a class I did not want to go, but they had auditions right after that class, and I was like, they're all like, the next youngest person was like 24 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Next time, your mom's also going to be on the show next time.
Yeah, she will tell you that story, but she physically I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
Were you afraid, or like what was the?
It's so funny. I would watch the shows and I was like, I do that. Like that, they're just playing. You know what I mean? So I kind of talk to that artist flow. Like I'm like, yeah, they're just like being kids. Like I am a kid. I know how to do
like,
this.
My little kid heart is like in there.
Yeah, but I was like definitely too shy. I was definitely a shy kid, which is so funny to think about.
No one's gonna be able to see my face, but I literally like my jaw was like. Because I can't imagine you being shy.
It's so funny. I had a twin. I have a twin sister. Yeah, I did, and she like we talk about this all the time, but like she was definitely more confident growing up of the two of us. So she would always like she'd make our friends, and then I would like open up. You know what I mean?
She was like, "And this is Jessica."
Yeah, exactly. Very much that. And yeah, I kept those worlds super separate, like my performance world from my like friend group and stuff.
Oh wow.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so they didn't know that you did that.
No. Not, I mean, I think they wandered into a show one time randomly, and they're like, "How come you didn't tell us?" And I was like, "I just like never came up."
You're like, I'm a shy guy.
I'm shy. Yeah, like, I don't talk about it. But it was, I think like as I've gotten older, I've kind of realized that, like, you know, what makes the best improv is really like all the rules that makes you a fun person to play with when you're a kid, right? Like you're accepting
I
other
love
people's
that.
ideas, you're making bold choices,
Oh my
you're,
gosh.
you know, taking yourself not super seriously, like, and that's
Yeah.
how I think that translates to when I find my flow, at least on stage, is when I'm like leaning on those principles. And I
Yeah.
think, like, since I started at such a young age, it was easier to not have to relearn them. You know what I mean? Because I think growing up, you like
you're
you have
kinda,
to
like,
stop
banking
doing
them
that.
away.
Yeah, like
no
you have
one
to.
told you had to stop. You just kind of like
You
kept,
just
kept them in there.
Exactly.
Hidden. Yeah, like
yeah.
maybe they're always in there for everyone. It's just like finding where to like pull them out. Or
I think so.
something.
I think
don't
so.
know.
I think we all get really good at playing and being imaginative and being
Uh-huh.
creative, and then, you know, life and society kind of makes it seem like that's not a feasible way to
Yeah.
be. And
Be an
then
adult.
yeah, exactly. And that's so funny when I teach my, you know, level 1 students. It's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like I have this job where I need to be super serious all the time, and I don't
Yeah.
get to have fun, and so I come here to have fun. And I
my
think they like
gosh.
surprise themselves, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I used to do this as a kid, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah, then
yeah,
they
you
remember
did.
all those like games that they played as a
Yeah.
kid, where they're like pretending to be a cat or like doing.
Yes. Oh my god.
I was a very specific example because that was one that I.
You
did
were a
as
cat.
kid.
I have this vivid. This is so silly, but we would be mermaids, and we would wear
Oh
our
my
pajama
gosh.
pants, but we'd tuck them in like
Stop
both
it, I
legs,
love
both
it.
legs in one leg hole, and just.
Oh my gosh, that is the greatest. We were not that creative. I feel like we did not have the mermaid legs, the mermaid feet. But
I mean, it's all
will
there.
Definitely have to bring that up with my cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why did we not think of that?
Anyone can be just
Yeah.
both legs in one pant hole. You could be a mermaid right now. That's all I'm
everyone.
saying.
It's for everyone. It's possible for you.
Pro tip.
too.
Yeah.
Pro tip. Listeners. Like, anyone can be a mermaid. Just all you need are pajamas, and you're there. So you were talking. I want to go back for a second. You were talking about the classes that you teach here.
Yeah.
Do you? So what are they? All improv classes, or like what are what? tell
Yeah,
us about that a
so
little
at
bit.
the theater and with CSE, which is the company that I'm the artistic director of, that's what we have comedy sports under and a
Yeah.
couple other shows under. We do improv classes. So
Okay.
here we do a level 1, level 2, level 3. And then we also offer additional like kids workshops, teen workshops, and
gosh,
yeah,
so
hopefully,
cool.
hopefully some more programming that we're trying to round out a little bit. But those are like our core curriculum classes.
Yeah.
And then the theater likes to partner with other people who might want to teach a class. So we've done sketch writing classes, we've
so
done burlesque
cool.
classes, we've done
Wow.
long form improv classes with our partners Bleach Improv. So just a lot of really cool classes
Oh my
happen
gosh.
here.
That is so cool, and I love that. And we were talking about this a little bit before the show. Just that you've really created this space where people can be free to like try out an idea, and like just the scope of like diverse artists that you're having come in here is like it speaks so much to that. I feel like it's so cool. It's like overwhelming. Like we're sitting in, people can't really see this, like you'll see photos, but like I'm sitting in this like beautiful theater with these lights shining on me. I'm like, I'm like feeling a little celebrity right
Oh,
now.
that makes me
Like,
so happy.
So I feel like everyone that gets to perform in here probably gets that feeling, like they're like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's like a legit stage that you've like really built for like the local community.
Yeah.
And, like, I can only see good things coming.
Thank
like, it's
you.
Just such a cool space.
That really means so much, and that is
Yeah.
kind of what's important to me is like, it's funny, my family, when I started performing, and I always was like the performer who was like, good at improv or whatever, and they were like, oh, are you gonna be on SNL one day? Are you gonna be famous? And I was like, no, like I don't want to
You're
do
like,
that.
"No, no, no."
That's not like my like goal with this, but what my goal is with I guess what my goal is building community. Like that's what makes me
Yeah.
excited, is like creating those opportunities for people to put on a show. Like I know what it's like living in Vegas and trying to get my show in theaters consistently,
Yeah.
and it's an uphill battle, you know what I mean? Especially when you're a small, local community show. It's hard to get like your footing and get
Right.
like a run of shows. Like, we do a weekly show, and we've done a weekly show since 2018, which
my
has
gosh,
been
that's
crazy to think about,
incredible.
even through the pandemic.
Even
like
through the
we were doing them
pandemic.
through
Wow.
Zoom online. Like
That is, and just the dedication though. Like I bet you if we reached out, like so many people would just come in troves to like appreciate you.
that would make me.
That
I'm already like emotional at the idea. I could not handle that.
Yeah, because that's so cool though. Like you've given people a place where they can have a voice, and
Yeah.
like the idea of like artists helping artists, like that's something that's like super close to me as well. Like I just think you have to have that community to like not just be successful, but to feel empowered, I think, to do your art, because it's like, you know, you're putting your whole self out there no matter what your discipline is. Like, no, I just think that's so cool that you've like, yeah, made this space that's so like fluid, and anybody can come here and really like be part of it and create and, you know, find what they want to do and try out their ideas.
Yeah, that's 100% the goal.
Super, super, super cool.
Thank
like,
you.
so, because you had this like inspiration of like making this space, and like now the space is built and people are coming, and so what is like inspiring you to do next? Like what's the next thing for Mom's Basement?
That's
or
a great
for you?
question. Yeah, there's a lot. So buckle up. So I was running this theater while I had another full-time job previously, and I've since, you know, switched jobs a little bit.
Yeah.
Opened up my own agency. We
Yeah,
were talking about
yeah.
that. So I'm doing that, but it also gives me a lot more flexibility to manage and operate the theater,
Sure.
you know, more full-time with my other partners who work here. And so if I'm breaking it up into like different steps, I'm so like, I've fallen back in love with coaching for the shows that I like coach, you know what I mean? So just getting them super sharp, both
What
on
are
like,
some of those shows? Sorry.
yeah, no, that's a great question, because, you know, I'll just not say the name of anything. Comedy Sports is our flagship show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a short form competitive improv. It's for all ages. And we have 2 teams of improvisers, a red team and a blue team, and they play games against each other. And then the audience gets to vote on which team they found more
That is so
entertaining.
fun.
Yeah, it's a super fun show. So we're producing that. I have a long form improv team here called Down to Business. And
Ooh, I
we're
like that
building.
name.
Yeah, it's super fun. We wear like ties
Down
when we
to
perform. It's cute. But we're trying to get our own show together starting in September to do like a monthly long form show. And then I actually just brought back this weekend. I think the 19th is Saturday. Yeah, we have a show called Knockout, which is a show that I brought up in Buffalo and then brought it here. And then
that's
it's been
so
like off and
cool.
on. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
still short form. It's 18 and over, so it gets a little, you know, maybe raunchier
PG-13?
sometimes. Yeah, I would say PG-13. But we have like a wheel, and all of the performers are randomly split up into partnerships, and they
Okay.
have to play a random game that the wheel chooses them, and then, you know, whatever
gosh,
team
this
was
sounds
leading he gets
intense.
knocked out. Yeah, and
I
so
just pictured like a fiery wheel.
yeah, right. yeah, it gets competitive, but it's so fun, and it's so easy as an audience member. I think that's what I always look for when I'm producing a show, is like the audience experience from top to bottom, of like when they enter the door, it should feel like, you know, the music's right, the lights are right, like they're already getting that experience, like
Yeah.
top to bottom, from the moment they walk in to when they leave, is like something that really inspires me. So same thing with the theater. We've also, like I think I mentioned, we're repainting, we're redecorating, we're, you know, rebuilding out some of these things. I think you'll see in some of the pictures. But Mom's Basement Theater is definitely like not a traditional theater space. We're literally like 2 suites in an office complex. You know what I mean? Which is so fun. It's like a real testament that like improv and performance can really happen anywhere.
Yeah.
But I keep wanting to refine that theater experience for, you know, my performers, but also for the audience members that are coming in to, you know, enjoy a show or like
Yeah.
donate or give their time and money to
Right.
like, you know, something that we're doing here. So I think like that's another big phase.
Oh
And
my
then,
gosh.
like I
That's,
mentioned,
sounds so fun.
I
I'm
know, it's so
excited. I
much,
can tell you
I know.
literally can't contain how excited you are right now. It's so
there's just
cute.
so much to do, like, and that's why I'm like it's such a great reminder to take a step back and like be like, like, wow, you built this, because I'm looking at like
Appreciate
the 400
what you've
things on the
done.
list still, but I
feel like,
appreciate it.
yeah, because you're totally like an entrepreneur too. So you're like two. That'll be a blooper later. Don't worry. Like you're always like looking like at the next thing.
Yeah.
Like you're excited by the new and like the next and like getting that experience for people. But like you've already like, it's good to like pause for a second and just appreciate like everything that you've already done.
Yeah, it's such a
because-
great reminder. I mean, even when you asked me to do the podcast, I was like, me? Like, wait, do I fit the
Yeah.
criteria of like
Oh,
what you're looking for?
100%.
And I was like, wow, like, let me take a minute.
I was
and
honored. I was like, oh my God, he's going to do my podcast.
I was like, yes, immediately.
Oh my gosh. I feel like it's going to be really fun to like just see like over the next year, like how this will evolve. And like, you know, I'm looking forward to like, because I just moved to Philly recently.
Yes,
and so like,
cross country.
yeah, so I have 2 homes now, Las Vegas and Philly.
Yes,
so.
shout out Philly.
Shout out Philly.
Shout out Vegas.
So I'm going to be excited to come back here and like, you know, see just how that space is evolving and like what else you're working
Yeah.
on. I feel like I cut you off a second ago.
Oh,
what
no,
else
it's
were
'cause
you
I have
gonna tell us?
400
I
things.
know,
No, you're right.
What's the 400th thing though? Because I feel like it was
Yeah.
like your face was lighting up,
I'm
and I
trying
was
to
like so
speed run
excited.
them.
So
Yeah, it's really the theater stuff. We also just, like you mentioned, I do a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion work. So we started.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we've had a Vegas Improv Diversity Committee. It's been me and my friend Kim Congdon trying to really diversify.
Cool.
But we just had a DEI mixer to introduce the community to kind of the work that we do, and get a couple more hopeful signups for our committee, and we did. We have like a full team of people now that are.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing.
So that's starting back up.
So is that volunteer based? Is it like I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to know so much more.
Right. Yeah. Right
Tell me
now,
all the things.
it's completely volunteer based. And sort of at the mixer, it was so fun. We played improv bingo. So we had these bingo boards that had like different things that could happen in an improv show, and then teams that didn't know what the bingo boards were. So they performed, and then the audience members, if they saw something, would dab the bingo. And it was like this real fun event. But I was able to like kind of say like, hey, like this is such a vibrant, accepting, beautiful community. And, a lot of communities aren't like the one that we have here. And it also requires a lot of work to keep communities like this. And so kind of making that ask of people, I think helped, people be like, oh, I want to give some time. So right now it is completely volunteer based. We have a couple different like pillars that we're kind of trying to engage
Don't
the
put quotes
community
around
with.
your pillars.
You're right. We have a couple different pillars that we're trying to do. It's in performance and making sure that we have diverse representation, and we're reaching out to communities to come, engage in improv.
Yeah.
It's the education, both in performance, diversifying our skill set, but also making sure that we're learning, as the world's changing, the best way to engage style. Improv's not a art form or a community that didn't have a lot of mistakes in the past.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
of
A lot
course.
of things that have needed to change, and so actively having those conversations and workshops on just reframing our mindset a little bit and helping the community grow is really important to us. And then just like also fun events that like we can get a lot of people out and just spread
Mix
the
and
word.
mingle.
Yeah, mix and mingle, exactly.
I just think it's so like, it's like it blows my mind. Like you have so much going on, but like you're dedicating, like I'm sure a lot of time to like really make that a thing that takes off and like that people know about and that can join. And it's so important because like you were saying that the improv community has made mistakes and like has to learn from those, and like but we all do, like everyone. I mean, everyone is making, I feel like, those mistakes in all different types of small communities, big communities, like cities, small towns, like everyone, and whether it's like we're talking about an art form or we won't get into politics, but politics,
that's a different podcast.
That's not this podcast. We're about inspiration. But really, truly, like that work that you're doing and using, your art form to elevate that conversation is just like so inspiring. Honestly.
Thank you.
Like it's like bringing tears to my eyes. Like I can't. It's just because it's like you took the initiative to do that, and it's one of those things that like you hear people say, well, like one person can't do, like I can't change that, so like I'm just gonna pretend like it's not happening, or like stick my head in the sand. But you've like seen something that you feel passionate about that isn't that is something we need to be talking about. Like we need to have conversations, and like they're going to be hard conversations sometimes, right? Like 'cause those, I'm sure you get into some serious topics in those rooms. And sometimes I think that the way that you're using comedy to kind of keep it like friendly is like so smart.
Thank you.
How has that been going? Like how do you plan to evolve that?
I think kind of like what you mentioned earlier is like community, and I think that's such a big part of any sort of creator or artist or maker, and I think that's what helps keep me motivated and on task. Like even yesterday, like my partner Kim was like, you gotta send that email, you know what I mean, that DEI email that I've like accidentally forgot about the past 3 days. So I think like I could not do anything of what I do, whether it be at Mom's Basement or with Comedy Sports or the DEI committee, without the other people involved in these communities to keep me sort of on task. But I would say, as far as like where I want to take that, I think you really did say it. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is, work that we kind of have to be doing and kind of be thinking about at all times. And I think improv is such a great, segue to that, to make it approachable.
Right.
I think, these conversations, justifiably can be very passionate or, angry, but they also don't all have to be all of the time. You know what I mean? And, I think some of the work or what I pride myself on, and I think the work that I do, is making it sort of approachable and digestible and like realizing that all of us really want a lot of the same things. We just need to talk about and have conversation around, how to get there. And, the work that I do and the way that I do it, and I'm not saying is the blanket statement of how this work needs to be done. You know what I mean? But it might be. But it might, yeah. But just getting people in the room to have a conversation and be willing to learn. It's very hard to tell, people. Bring that up in an improv performance or a way that like makes people like laugh and think.
Yeah.
Like that's a great way to do it. You know what I mean?
Smart.
I have actually some really great friends, Amelia Fowler in New York City, Luis Cortez, in Chicago, and we were on a diversity, equity, inclusion committee for CSZ Worldwide, which is the worldwide organization that oversees comedy sports in all of its cities. And that's exactly what we talked about doing. And I know a lot of people are doing great work in that exact area, using improv and improv exercises to do diversity training in businesses. And I've, worked with them to work with a couple different theaters to, start those conversations, do some workshops, and get like conversations going. And it's such a great opportunity
I hope that spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, I think it's a really approachable way to do it.
That was a really insensitive thing to say, actually.
Oh my God.
I hope take that back. I hope it spreads like in a very kind and way. Yikes. Okay. Well, be kind to me, audience.
Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, I hope that just like takes off. As a outside looker honor, just like using your time to like help people like in every facet of what you're doing.
So, thank you.
So cool.
Yeah, I think it helps me too. I check a lot of minority boxes. So this is conversations that I'm passionate about because I know what it's like to like feel othered or be the only XYZ in a room. You know what I mean? And that's what, building this theater is about too, is I don't want anyone to feel like that. I want you to walk in, not know anyone, and still feel like this is home. It's mom's basement. It's where you go hang out with your friends. You know what I mean?
Video games.
Yeah, exactly. So you play mermaids in the basement.
Yeah, like we're handing out PJs later. Like stick around.
After the show, all of us.
All of us together. All the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, exactly.
Mermaids all. I'm there though. Like, so you think like a lot of the work you're doing then was spurred from that feeling like another and like other times in your life then?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think I think that's informed a lot of the work. I think a lot of what inspires me to do the work is storytelling. Like at its core, whether I'm doing like improv or painting or, doing design, there's like normally a story that I want to tell. Right. And I think what's informed the stories I want to tell is the diversity mindset that I kind of have, right? I think before I got into design at all, I was actually studying game art and design at the Art Institute here.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to make video games after I dropped out of engineering. Which I was like, this is boring and I'm not good at it.
You're like, I'm going back to PowerPoint.
Yeah, I was like, that's exactly what I thought of when I was like looking for majors. I was like, what did I like to do as a kid? And I was like, storytell, games, stuff like that. So I was doing that here for a bit. And I quickly was like, I wanted to open my own indie studio that just focused on telling diverse stories because I think we all know video games and we have, specific plot lines and characters that we associate with, mainstream games. And there's so many stories that I think aren't told, and that's exactly what I wanted to focus on. And so I think, right, like I am a storyteller, but I am informed by my diversity experience.
That's amazing. Make them into something that can connect people, and it goes back to I think what you were saying about being able to. Everyone has lived their own life and they have their own things going on, but we are like the same in so many ways. Like, we want, a lot of people, not, and you can't blanket statement obviously, but like I think a lot of people want the same things. They want like security and they want to be loved and they want to feel seen and they want to be able to make and not feel judged because they didn't make it the way someone else did or because they see the world differently. And so like, man, like, standing O for Justin. Okay, standing O. You are just a delight. I can't even. I'm like,
that's so sweet. But yeah, I, co-sign that statement 100%.
You're like,
you said it.
Sign, check. Oh my gosh. Would you say that like and I feel like I may already know the answer to this, but like do you think that that's something that's like been the most gratifying then to like kind of put out into the world, or like I mean, I don't even know how you would choose one endeavor because you've done so much, but like already, and I just feel like you're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah,
like, I feel like I'm gonna see your name and like I'm gonna have to be like knocking. I'm like, can I talk to Justin? Like,
that's so nice. I like have my people.
Yeah, like
message your people.
We'll talk to you later. He's
No,
busy.
yeah. I if I ever get that way, please send me.
It's okay. I'll send you some green M&M.
Yeah.
Or something, or whatever color preference you have. And
Someone bring me back down.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I think the most gratifying part is like in a lot of ways like just building those connections. You know, I think it happens in so many little ways since I've opened the theater that I've realized. I was making some new promo material to play like pre-matches and pre-shows and stuff on our TVs.
Okay.
And so I was giving every single show that we do here a little like, you know, spotlight or like a little highlight. And so I was getting a lot of information on like their members and pictures from like their Instagrams and stuff. And one group literally like their bio, they're fluorescent beige. They do a wonderful monthly show here. It said like made in Bleach, which is like the classes that they all took together, Bleach classes. Made in Bleach now has a home at Mom's Basement Theater or something like that. Something like that. That was just so cute that I'm like, wow, like, and you know, I've talked to their members and they've said like, wow, without you existing, we would not exist. And it's like,
my gosh,
that,
mind-blowing.
yeah,
That is mind blowing.
It's so wild, but that's what. Whenever I get super frustrated because like I do have a list of 400 things and like I can't do them all at the same time.
Sure, you have to focus, you know,
like
one at
those
a time.
moments, yeah. Or when I see like, you know, we throw that DEI mixer and we're worried about if people are going to come and it's, you know, sold out.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's like throwing a Halloween party.
Really,
You're like, is anybody going to show up to my party?
Please, I hope my friends show up to my mom's basement party. But I feel that way every time we have like a new show or any you know any show that we have. We do our comedy sports match every single Saturday, and I'm like, well, I hope people come. You know what I mean? And at the end of the month, we like, you know, I'll check our reviews or things like that, and people will be like, you know,
you
great
look at
show,
the
or
reviews?
this was oh yes, I do, because if I don't, my mom will screenshot them and send them to me.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, and for the most part, you know, they're mostly good, you know what I mean? But I think like being able to hear those things or talk to people, like that's what makes me feel the most.
People are
I
like
guess,
invested
you know,
in what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
they feel a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't like, I mean, you don't always realize that people, you know, resonate with your work or like the art you're making or the community you're building. But they do, you know what I mean? And that's why it's, I think, so important to find community, because it's so much easier when you have someone who's gone through that can be like, hey, here's some advice, or even just that you're doing a great job, keep going.
Yeah,
you know
like,
what I
or
mean?
be the one to tell you to like take a breath for a
Yeah,
second. You know?
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think we all have people in our life. I definitely have a couple in my life that are like, you need to take a breath.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Maybe just you're doing fine. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fine. You
I
know?
think it's easy sometimes to like get in the mindset of like, this is, you know, my art and I can't share it, or it's not good enough to share or something like that. And I think like that mindset can be very, you know, challenging, because if you do share, people not only appreciate the work you're already doing at whatever level you're doing it at, but you'll also exponentially connect and grow in that, you know, when you share it with people who are, you know, better, or, you know, have something to offer you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. When you're talking about people that do creative work, like everyone's perspective is so unique, and so, like I can't be your perspective, and you can't be mine. Like we can never be completely like, you can't copy it. Like,
Exactly.
Because you're not inside. I'm not inside your brain. You're not inside my brain. Like I'm not inside Jason's brain. Like, you know. So like, we were talking about how like finding a mentor is like so just detrimental in like every step of your career, every like step in your artistic endeavors, like whatever work you're doing, or, you know, finding that person that's like the smartest one in the room, that's like the best, and like just being like humble enough to like be around them and know that they know more than you,
right.
And then like being willing to like pass on that information to the person coming up behind you, because it's always like there's always one in front and always one behind, right? So,
exactly. Oh, I talk about this all the time too, which is so funny, and I'm sure all creatives do. But it is such an important thing, and I think that's why the community aspect of creation is so important, because you like, if you want to grow, talk to people, like they want to help you. And I think exactly what you're saying, not gatekeeping that information, but passing it on, and also knowing that like there are things that you have worthy to share. Like I mentioned, I teach.
A mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome. will get you
Yeah, it
every
happens
time.
all the
Oh
time.
my
I'm
gosh.
teaching currently right now. I'm teaching our level 3 class, which is our final class before they start performing. And one of the funny things that I do,
exciting.
it's so exciting, and this is one of my favorite classes to teach.
Just now
Yeah,
thinking about that. I don't even know them, but I'm like,
I'm
oh,
so
they're
excited.
like
The
baby
showcase
birds,
is
like-
in 3 weeks, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, 3 weeks.
yay.
So there's only a little bit more time, but I find that like improvisers who have been doing this, that I get to coach or teach for a bit. I love being like, what do you need to work on? And everyone's like, well, this. And I'm like, great. What are you great at? And everyone's like, I have no answer. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
pause and I'm like, I think how I like to approach this art form and what I like to do is like, yes, there's clearly things that I want to work on and improve
Sure,
on.
there always will
but
be.
yeah, but there's also things that I know that I do really well and that I have fun doing and that, people say that I, perform in a certain way that makes them laugh, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's finding that balance of like, being humble and knowing that like, yes, we all have stuff to work on, but also being confident and knowing that whatever you're sharing, regardless of medium, is, worthy of sharing. And I think we have to be our own biggest cheerleaders a lot of the time.
It's hard to get it. It's a mindset for sure, I feel like. And do you think like that gets easier like when you rip the Band-Aid off, like kind of like the first time, like once you get in front of, and specifically I guess for improv, but this could relate I think to pretty much any kind of really any endeavor where you're sharing something.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be necessarily an artistic endeavor, but like, do you think that got easier for you like after you did one, like then you're like, oh okay, they like clapped and it was fine?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways. I mean, I started when I was so young. You know what I mean? I remember my audition because the way that they used to audition, I don't think is how they audition anymore. But it would be all of the people, all 30 of us auditioning, and then all of the members of the team would be watching and writing and critiquing. Like it wasn't like a panel. It was like all 30 people that I would watch perform or whatever. And so like definitely like I was like, I don't even know why I'm here. Like when I'm on the side, like I'm 13, like I don't know anyone. I don't know.
You were so young,
Yeah, I was a baby, and the first
you're
thing
shy, you said, so.
yeah, exactly. The first thing we had to do was like go up there and just do a minute monologue. They give you a suggestion and you just talk for a minute.
Do
And
you
so
remember what your monologue was?
I don't remember at all. but what I do remember is like the reaction. I remember kind of finding that flow state, right? Like the lights were on, I couldn't see anyone, and I remember delivering this like, whatever the monologue was, and I remember people laughing at just what I was saying and immediately
my
feeling
gosh.
comfortable. And like, excuse me, not for nothing. I like
He's choking
cut
on his
it,
past.
cut it
He's
out.
choking on his past.
Put it in the blooper reel. Not for nothing though. I remember like after that moment, from the moment I stepped on that stage, like really like killing that audition. You know what I mean? That's because I found that sort of flow. And I think just to kind of speak to like, yes, I think the more you put yourself out there, the more that you will get, critique and compliment. And you kind of have to learn to take both of those in stride. I think a lot of people, and I think society in general, makes people want to not receive compliments, right? Like you want to save those for
try to
someone
deflect.
else.
You
Exactly.
deflect them.
And so even from like that moment, I like really wanted to focus on and sharing with people like, you can accept that compliment. You know what I mean? Like it's like anytime I love giving compliments and I love receiving them.
It sounds like such a silly thing, but it's true.
It's so true.
Because whenever everyone's like, "Oh, I love your shoes," and you're like, "Oh, okay, come in."
Yeah. You're like, they're on sale, like they're dirty.
You're
Like,
you're like, "Oh, I didn't clean up
I actually want
today,"
new
or
ones.
whatever.
But it's so funny because I was doing that today.
I'll throw them out after this. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Do you want them?
Yeah, here, I'll just give them to you. Fine.
But even I like, was doing that around here. I was like, hey, like we're still gonna repaint this. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah,
like,
you did do that.
yeah, so I'm something I'm actively working on is like yes,
we
receiving
all?
compliments and like knowing that you deserve them, and also like that can be true, and also work needs to be done still. It's true. It's both of those in stride.
Yeah, I think it's equally as important to be able to take criticism, and that's like a
Yeah.
hard. I remember being, and I'm sure let me know. Like, did you have this experience too, where you were growing up? Or coming up, I mean, it's probably grown already. Like coming up in like your career, like you're learning different art forms, and like design specifically for me, like that was like learning how to take criticism, because basically like everyone like you have to get used to people crapping on your stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's so true.
And like some people are like good criticism givers, and
Yeah.
some are not, and so
Yeah.
like either way, you have to be able to like be face enough to like take both of those things, and like at least like if someone doesn't give you a kind critique, you still can pull something from that's like useful or grow from
That's
it, I think.
exactly what I think is important. I think critique is I always try to, and I tell my players this, to separate the objective and the subjective critique,
Oh,
right?
that's so good.
Objectively, like, hey, maybe this game, like, we play short form games. Maybe it took 5 minutes and only supposed to take 3. Like, very objectively, like, we
Yeah.
probably should have condensed, that game a little bit.
Sure.
But, like, I try not to give critique on, like, well, I wouldn't have made, like, that choice, or I wouldn't have said that, because,
Right.
like, of course I wouldn't. I'm a different improviser than you are. And so, like, I say all the time, like, there's going to be notes that, like, resonate with you, and you can take those, and there's going to be notes that you're, like, completely disagree with, and you can ignore that. I'm trying to make, like, 30 people. We have 33 people on our roster. Trying to make all of them the best comedy sports players possible, but it's,
gosh.
They're all going to do it differently.
That's a lot of pressure for you too, though. Like,
Yeah.
do you feel pressure?
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh!" Your whole body sees. Like, but I mean, do you feel pressure though for that, or is it more like they're your kind of like your baby birds that you're like releasing into the
Yeah,
world
no matter
together?
if it's been like I love that analogy. I call them baby birds all the time.
You're like,
Yeah,
"Petite, come
I
on."
think I'm very transparent with information. I never come from this like, well, I'm the leader and like I know better,
yeah.
and that's why like my opinion is right. Like I'm very open with my critique and why I'm giving it. You know what I mean? And I think one of my skills is actually, giving critique. So I make sure everyone's comfortable. I try to deliver the note in an objective way. And I definitely don't make a lot of like emotional, rash, upsetting. Like I don't, sorry, Mike. Emotional, rash
The emotion,
decisions.
the emotion in that
Exactly.
speech came out to the mic.
But it's the same
Okay.
thing when I was working as a creative director for an e-commerce company and I was overseeing a team and I was reviewing their work, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm always just, you feel one way, I feel one way. My job is, to figure out how to execute this the best. And it's somewhere in the middle of, probably what we both think. But I think, I trust my players to perform and, my employees, whatever it is. I
Yeah.
trust them to bring their skill and their knowledge. And I'm just here to help guide it. And I'm going to do that in as transparent a way as possible. So everyone is comfortable and no one feels like it's ego or malicious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so funny. I give notes like that. And then I like to receive notes. Like every single time someone's coaching me, I'm like, rip me apart, make me cry, read me for filth. Like I'm pretty good at like taking that and then dissecting of like, oh, okay, like this is how I want to change it now. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy a harsher critique than like a softer approach.
You like to be beaten a little.
Yeah,
bit,
a little bit. But like I definitely, I appreciate, because that's not necessarily how I, deliver notes. So I'm like,
Sure.
if you see something and you want to call it out immediately, like do it. Like you can interrupt me, stop my scene, whatever you want.
Oh.
Like, and that's kind of what I look for in a coach, someone who's going to do that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's
so
not how
you
I
see-
do things at
yeah,
all.
Like you see someone that's gonna like beat you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Slap you around a little bit, but like your students get a much it sounds like a much softer approach.
Yeah.
So that's I'm sure they're very grateful.
I've literally never thought about like the juxtaposition
difference?
between those things, but yeah.
Maybe you're like, just take it all on me. Like,
Yeah,
take it
yeah,
all on me.
I'll
take
wear
it
the
for
brunt.
The team. I'll take it for the team. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love what you said about separating the objective from the subjective, because that's just, I feel like that should be like in every like art school manual ever written.
Yeah.
Like they don't even need to write anything else. It's like that's like the portion, the critique chapter should just be separate the objective from the subjective.
Next chapter.
I
Yeah.
feel like I just learned something I'm going to apply to my own life. I think that's like you don't know that when you start out,
Oh my
like
gosh,
you-
especially
and-
as a student, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah, you're looking and you're like, I have to do it the way my teacher said, or I have to do it the way that this professional says. And like,
Yeah.
I always feel like there's merit, to learning that, you know
Sure.
what I mean? Because clearly they got to where they are
Oh, of
based on how
course.
they, you
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying don't listen to them.
yeah, yeah. Just disclaimer: we're not giving advice to not listen to
Yeah,
mentors. Like that's
very
not what we're
much.
saying.
But you also, get to take whatever anyone says through your own lens and decide if you want to apply it or not. And that's
sure.
across any medium.
Well, and that's what makes your work unique. Right?
Exactly,
So, I
exactly.
mean, like your ability to take that and like make it your own. So, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt too. You're gonna have like a T-shirt pack coming from me. Hashtag so many T-shirts. Oh my gosh. I feel like this hour is flying by.
I'm so
I feel
sorry.
Like
I'm
I have so
also-
many more. What are you sorry
I'll
about?
just- I'll just talk.
I love it. I'm like, keep talking. Tell me all the things. All right. Like, feel like we have time. Maybe I'll ask you like one more, and then I have a couple of. Just I want to talk about some of your upcoming things.
Yeah, sure.
But I would like to know if there's something like if you can think of either like a moment where you were critiqued or given a piece of advice that like really, you know, in talking about all of this like mentorship and like being able to take critiques, like can you think of like a piece of advice or something that like you received as like, even if it was bad feedback, that like really like made an impression on you and like was really impactful for you like moving forward in all your endeavors?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I mean, let me lay it on me.
This is so funny, but this is the story that kind of got me. You know, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but when I first went to college, I just turned 18. I went to the university at Buffalo for biomedical engineering.
Oh wow!
And I was
You've lived such
so many
you're
lives.
So young, and you have like what was it?
Biomedical engineering.
Medical engineering. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put it on my resume at all. I did it for a year and a half, and I wasn't like a great student. Like I was one of those kids who like high school was a breeze. Like
Okay.
was like, yep, I'm gonna do something in science. I'm gonna do engineering. Like it made so much
Book
sense
smart.
to do. Yeah, very like, I mean, without even trying really, like, which is, you know, apply yourselves. So
shoulder
that's
up.
yeah. I was like, well, but then I got to college and I was like immediately like failing every class. You know what I mean? Like I hated like the actual classwork. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have a lot of friends. You know, I was shy even in that college years. I didn't make a lot of.
Sister wasn't there.
Exactly, she wasn't there. It was the first time she
help,
wasn't there to
so,
like help me
like-
make friends, and I wasn't enjoying like the work. And so I remember like I was going into my like fundamentals of biomedical engineering class, and I don't know the professor's name because again I didn't show up, but I was there that day, and it was one of the only classes I attended. And he wasn't even talking to me; he was talking to the kid in front of me who was like needed help with his homework. And he said something. He was like, you know, and if you're not enjoying like the work, then you should consider like if you're going to enjoy the field. You know what I mean? And he wasn't talking to me, and I was like, wow. And I literally like grabbed all my stuff and I left and I resigned all of my engineering classes, which is so funny. But
Did like half the class leave? Was it?
it was one of those classes where like they're like look to your left, like look to your right, like one person you just looked at is not going to pass this class or is not going to graduate with an engineering degree. Like it was a very like competitive program, but like I think that's really resonated with me because before then I was really trying to force myself to do something that people told me I would be good at or what the world expected of me, and I didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? And so as soon as I dropped everything, I took maybe like the rest of the month off because you know the semester ended, and then I immediately got into classes of like, you know, figure drawing classes and design classes and game art classes, and I was like, it set me, my whole career of where I am now was literally because of that moment that I had overheard another teacher say. And so I'm very much like, you know, whatever you're doing, if you're not enjoying it, like you can make a living doing whatever you do enjoy, whether it's, you know, leaving from STEM to go be creative or, you know, vice versa. Like whatever you want to do in your heart, whatever you're passionate about, you can and will make a living doing it as long as you like, you know, give it, you know, a try and like give it your all.
Yeah, that's like so crazy. So you were like, I got like this very like vivid picture of you, like, standing by, like you were like, you probably weren't this close to him, but like you or her, I don't know who the student was, but like behind the student and like with your hands on their shoulders, like you were like seeing the professor, looking at them, but looking at you, and you were just like, oh my gosh, he's talking about me.
Thank you. I can leave.
You're like
on my way out, packing up all my stuff.
Oh my gosh, that is wild. That's like that was like a very honest moment then in your life where you were like, okay, this is going to be a real big pivot that I take right now.
Well, it's interesting because I was like such a happy, optimistic, go lucky person until I hit college. And then for like the year and a half I was at UB, I was like in bed depressed, you know what I mean? And then as soon as I got out of it, like I was right back to the way I was, you know what I mean? So that was such a pivotal time for me because it was like I don't even recognize myself anymore.
I feel like we need to find this teacher. Like he was like,
I know, you told me to quit. Thank you.
Like, thank you for your honesty. Sometimes
thank you for your honesty to someone else. Thank you for letting me overhear it.
Oh my gosh. That is wow. That's really good. I'm like, can you take a minute and tell us about some upcoming projects? Because I want to make sure people know, like, you know, what you have going on. How can they like buy tickets? How can they sign up for your classes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest things that we have programming here at Mom's Basement Theater, and you can find us at Mom's Basement Theater on Instagram and Facebook. We have shows and programming here 4 to 5 nights a week.
my
The
gosh,
shows
that's
that,
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. The shows that I am the artistic director of are Comedy Sports. You can buy tickets at csclasvegas.com. That's also where you can register for classes. I teach those classes a lot of the time, so you can find me on all of the levels. Or, you know, we're starting our kids programming, which is such a fun and exciting. That's where I got my start, was teaching teens. It was so funny. I was 17 years old, and I wrote a proposal to the board of Comedy Sports Buffalo, and I was like, I want to teach a class. And all, like, my students were even older than me at the time.
Gosh, that's like so, you're like so ambitious. 17, you're like, hey board, I'm here.
I
I'm
can
ready.
do this.
I can do this. Let's do it. I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So at Comedy Sports and at
Yes, at
Moms-
CSC Las Vegas. And if you're listening to this, you know, wherever, Comedy Sports, like I said, is a worldwide organization, so there's probably one close to your city, if not already in your city.
Very
I would
cool.
totally encourage you to go, you know, check them out. Tell them Justin sent ya, Justin Green. It might not do anything, but they might send me like a text later and be like, oh my gosh.
Like,
So go check them out. Yeah, and like just those are the big things. Comedy CSC Las Vegas will have all of our shows. Mom's Basement Theater will have all of our shows.
If someone is interested in either volunteering or like learning more about the diversity work that you're doing, how can they get involved with that, or where can we send people for that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I have to talk to the rest of the committee, but honestly, right now, probably be emailing me would be like the best point of contact.
Okay, so we'll put some links hopefully in the show notes so that, you know, everyone can find that.
Yeah.
And either DM you or something. Like,
Yeah,
we'll figure
absolutely.
out the right way
Just
to get you
Find
in
me, yell at me.
contact.
I will include you.
Hopefully, including you in the inclusion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not turning anyone away.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, so before we say see you later, because the hour is almost up, I'm so sad. I wanted to end the show by asking the creatives that come on the show if they can shout out to us like another favorite Vegas creator and maybe one that we would need to travel to go see.
Yeah.
To nominate for future shows.
Yes, absolutely.
Do a little artist tag here.
Yeah. So one of my, the local one for Las Vegas is a good friend of mine. Their name is D. Marcucci. We used to perform together, improv together, but they also are a clown, and they're in Absinthe, and they are
Oh my gosh.
watching them move and perform and clown and do their thing is just so amazing to watch. It's such a different approach to stage performance that I take. I feel like I'm very witty and quick.
It's so physical.
It's so physical. It's not me at all. But
my gosh.
I know that they're a mover and a dancer, and even their stories of just dancing to music, I'm amazing, so cool, so real great at physical comedy, and just being
gosh.
Physical in general. So that's
yeah,
my local
that's
setup. That's my local shout out.
D.
Yeah.
Be contacting you.
Yeah. Please reach out. And then I wanted to, we didn't really talk about this, but I love to make art and paint.
Oh yeah,
And
let's talk about that. We have
got time. We got a little bit of time.
Stop clock. Get out of here.
So yeah, in addition to managing the theater and the diverse work that I do, I own a creative and marketing agency that I actually just opened with my best friend Chase Cates. Shout out Chase.
Shout out.
So yeah, I do graphic design, and we do a lot of production stuff. We do creative and brand strategy, marketing services, both digital and print. It's been a lot of fun, and we're just getting started. So if you're a small business in Vegas and need some help, we're also a small business in Vegas who would love to help you out with those types of things.
Able to help.
Very able, very willing.
Yeah.
And then in my free time, I think I love to collect hobbies and skills.
Of course.
And so
and you apply them.
I try to
I'm
they
sure
all
you
kind
found ways
of
to apply them in different endeavors, crossover.
Exactly.
So all good things must come to an end. Unfortunately, if anyone noticed, if the sound sounds a little different, we got cut off at the hour mark. So, we're still figuring it out. It's all good. But that's it for this episode of The Artist 10, presented by Heart House Creative. Plug. But there's plenty more inspiration, know-how, and creative collabs to come. In the meantime, follow us on Instagram at Heart House Creative, TikTok at The Artist 10 Podcast, or you can also subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you feed your brain from. Up to you. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Hart. Keep creating, Heartists. The Artist 10 Podcast was recorded at Mom's Basement Theater in Las Vegas. The show is produced by Heart House Creative. Photo and video content captured by local creator Shahab Zargari at Shahab Zargari on Instagram. Learn more about our featured guest, Justin Green, at Justin_in_greens on Instagram, or book a live improv show at momsbasementtheater.com. See our show notes for more ways to connect.